This video is brought to you by the Farmer Klein YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Farming Simulator 22 Map First Impressions video. Today we're going to take a look at the Umari Farm RN. But before that, this video is brought to you by Aaron Just and William Chapman. Thank you for being farm barons. So the Umari Farm RN map can be found over at the farmingsimulator.com website or the in-game downloadable content menu, and as of the 1.0 release, this map is available for all platforms. Let me read you a little bit of the description. Map is based on the Rio Grande do Norte dairy farming region of Brazil. This map includes a BGA, sugarcane mill, gas station, animal trader, 3 points of sale for grains, limestone mine, water we can get from a lake or from a well near the carpentry shop, various production points, original crops from Farm Sim 22. In new farmer mode, you will have a farm with some machinery and implements, 35 fields with missions, forest areas, and fields to be opened, various landscape with trees, foliage, shrubs, and more. And the map includes the 20 collectibles from Hope by the Rune, basically the game cartridges. Let's go ahead and load on in. We are going to use the mods that we typically use when we take a look at maps. That is additional field info, additional game settings, field lease, field calculator, and precision farming. I will say if you load this map up in farm manager mode or start from scratch, you will not own any land at the start, nor do you have any machinery. The farm is completely barren with the exception of one building. There is one building that is permanently embedded in the map. It's off in the corner. It's not that bad of a problem, but it is something to note that in all play modes, there will be one building down at the starting farm. So here we are loaded in. We load in here at the church that is in town. Let's go ahead and take a look at the PDA itself. We take a look at our lands area. You will see that we start out by owning Farmland 2. That is where our farm is located. And it is, I don't want to sell it. Thank you. It is 26.43 acres in size. And as you can see, the majority of that bioable farmland is going to be placeable areas. So this entire area here is open for placement. So you're going to be able to put a whole lot of stuff down, even in new farmer mode. In addition, we also own Farmland 48, which happens to be field 35 in new farmer mode. We also take a look at other areas that we can buy. There is a biogas plant that is right here. You cannot buy the farmland itself, but if you do buy the BGA, you do end up owning the farmland if you do that. Now, you can buy the typical unbuyable areas. That is going to be all of the city and the various sell points and production areas. They can be bought for $1.8 million. Now, we have the lime mine that you can buy here for $1 million. And there is an interesting feature of the map that you can buy for $250,800. It is basically a rock slide. So there are rocks piled up down here in Farmland 47. Not sure if you're going to get your $250,000 out of those rocks, but at any rate, there is a rock, kind of a rock pile down there. I kind of liken it to a rock slide. You'll see that during the map tour. We also have a field 44 that is all grass, as well as field 20, or farmland 20, I should say. $825,000. Now, before we move on to our farmland lease screen, we're going to take a look at all of the individual farmlands and how big those are. We will see that we do indeed have all of the standard crop types available to us here in Farm Sim 22. Looking at our farmland lease screen, you can see we own Farmland 2, which is 10.69 hectares in size. That is, again, the main starting farm. We do not own this land in Farm Manager or Start from Scratch, so you can buy that for $641,000 should you so wish. We also then have field 35, which is 7.37 hectares in size. I'm going to go ahead and scroll through this list. You're going to be able to see all of the farmlands, how big those farmlands are, which field or fields those farmlands are associated with, and then ultimately how much those farmlands are going to cost you. Now, if we take a look at our field calculator screen, we use this screen to break down the field and the field sizes specifically. So we all know that the farm lands don't necessarily have to match up with field sizes. So this is going to show us the actual field sizes as compared to the farm lands that those fields are tied to. If we look at our crop counter, you can see that we have the standard base game crop counter available to us here on this particular map. Even though this is a South American map, we are basically seeing a North American growth schedule. So that is important to point out. We have seen some South American maps that do have South American growth schedules. This one, though, is going to be very familiar to those of us who are in the Northern Hemisphere as far as when to plant and harvest various crops. Taking a look at our prices screen, we do indeed have the ability to sell all of the standard base game crops that we can grow in the map, which is always good to see. We also have the ability to sell all of our animal outputs of eggs, wool, and milk. We have the ability to sell silage, hay, straw, and grass as well. Moving down to all of the standard base game production items, we do indeed have the ability to sell all of the standard base game production items that are available in Farm Sim 22. We also have the ability to buy bulk lime. And there is a stone crusher on the map. Now, with respect to the Platinum expansion, we do not have the ability to sell any of the Platinum expansion production items, which really we're not quite expecting at this point. Coming into the new year, we will be ranking maps based on if we do have the ability to sell these items. But for now, this map is going to get a pass. If you do have the Pumps and Hoses DLC, you will be able to sell your separated manure at the livestock market. With respect to our vehicle overview, everything is new. None of it is leased. We do not have any animal areas at the start. We do have contracts available on the map. We do not own any production chains at the start. And as I said, we do have the 20 Holt Betheroon game cartridge collectibles scattered around the map. Let's go ahead and take a look at our starting fleet. Start out with the Steyr 8150 small tractor, the Valtra Valmet 8750 medium tractor, as well as the Massey Ferguson 3670 medium tractor. We have the Dutzfar Topliner 4090H harvester that is paired up with the 4090H grain header, and then, of course, the 4090H header trailer. We have the Rudolph TDK 301 RP trailer, as well as the Lemkin Karat 12500 KUA cultivator and the Rabe EG39 cultivator. We have the Nordstein HK25 NS3030 Power Harrow and Cedar. Then we round it all out with a pair of 750 kilogram front weights. Taking a look at our mods and DLCs, you will see that there are no custom vehicles or implements that are a part of this particular map. And let's go ahead and just tab down to our starting farm. You can see this is basically down in the southwest corner of the map. This shed that we are looking at right here, this is the shed that is permanently embedded on the map. We cannot get rid of this shed. Well, I mean, you could. If you are a PC, you brought this map into the Giants editor, then you could delete the shed. But at any rate, for the common player, this shed is going to be permanently embedded in the map. Now, it's down here in the corner of our farmland area. Not that big of a deal when you think about the fact that we have this huge area here. Remember, almost 25 acres to put down other things, animal areas, other sheds, silos, production points. Heck, there's plenty of room here. You could create some fields out of your starting area. Now, we do have a water area here. I'm not really sure if this is going to act as a water trigger, if this is the main lake that was referred to in the description or not, but we do have a water area tied to the map. We have our standard base game farm silo located right here with our dump and fill points. The farm silo can be sold and does not exist in farm manager mode or start from scratch. We have our farmhouse, so we have our sleep trigger. And again, in start from scratch or farm manager, this is not pre-placed. Our cartridges will, of course, appear over here, and then we have our wardrobe trigger located right there. Now, as far as the other shed that's here, the left shed we can get rid of. So we will be able to delete the left shed, but we won't be able to get rid of the right shed. Let's go ahead and take a look at our build mode. Don't believe that there are any buildings specific to this map, nor are there any custom silos extensions, containers, tools, or farmhouses. As far as production, we have all of our standard FS22 production. There are no custom production points, selling points, greenhouses, orchards, or generators. Standard base game animals are available on this particular map, and standard decorative elements as well. Now, if we take a look at our landscaping, take a look at our textures, we do have an interesting assortment of textures. They look all to be fairly FS22 standard. And then we have the small list of placeable, paintable bushes and grass. Let's jump back up here and talk about the soil map. If you are playing with precision farming, this map does have the generic soil map that is a part of the precision farming mod. Let's go ahead and take a look and see how that is getting applied to our fields. For the field we own, field 35, we have a mix of silty clay, loam, sandy loam, and loamy sand. We also have that type of mix through a lot of the northern part and center fields. We've got our typical swath of silty clay running through the south, bordered by loam, then also running through the northern areas of the map. Let's go ahead and take to the skies and do a little bit of a fly around. And as we gain a little bit of altitude, you can again kind of get a sense for how big this starting farm area is and how much land you really have to work with as far as placing items down. Right? That shed, the shed on the right, again, is the only shed that is going to remain in all play modes. It's off in the corner. Now, while we are going to deduct a little bit of point with respect to being able to customize the farm, because we can't sell that shed, we do have quite a large area here to put down pretty much anything and everything that you may possibly want. As we move kind of more toward the center of the map, we're going to come up on the animal dealer here on our left. So we have our animal dealer trigger, and then around the back we have our animal dealer sell point. Right beside the animal dealer, we have our sawmill production. And speaking of production, this map has 12 production items built in. So we have the tailor, the sawmill, which we just took a look at. We have a BGA, a dairy, grain mill, bakery, oil mill, cereal mill. We have a spinnery, the grape processing center, carpentry, and sugar mill. So with respect to having production built in or areas set aside for such, we are going to give the map a full point with respect to that metric. We're also going to give the map a full point with respect to having the ability to sell all of the base game crops, production outputs, and animal outputs. So we have our oil mill, one of our grain sell points. We have a sell point here at the grocery. We have the bakery down below. We have a restaurant sell point to the right. Then we also have Mama Joe's Diner here to the left. Very well representation of the diner. I like the use of sidewalks. I like the loading dock area around the back. We then have our tailor. We have our sugar mill. We have a second kind of grocery store, kind of farmer's market area located right there. And then we have our cereal factory, our spinnery, and our grape processing center. Right across the street from where we started the map at, we have our fuel depot as well as another restaurant sell point. We have our vehicle shop, which we will be coming back to here shortly. We have a second grain sell point, our grain mill, as well as our carpentry shop and dairy. Our third grain area, and this is our sugar beet mill also, or sugar mill also right there. We have our viable biogas plant. And then once we buy this biogas plant, we will be able to, or we will own this land. We will not be able to buy this land until we buy the BGA for $1.5 million. And then as we kind of come up here to the northeastern corner of the map, we have our token lime mine that we see in so many South American maps, so many Brazilian style maps. We see a lime mine down here. And over on the left, we have a pile of lime. Now, you can't get to this lime until you buy the land. But we do have lime pre-placed here. You come here and scoop this up once you buy this particular area. Or, well, you come around the side and just buy lime right here from the lime mine area. This is where your stone crusher is going to be located. And then we have this pile. I'm calling it a rock slide, if you will. We have this rock pile that you can buy for $200,000 plus. I forget the exact number. It's $200,000 plus. Now, are you going to get $200,000 worth of money out of all these rocks? Well, I really don't know. I mean, if you bought this area and then you placed one of those production points that takes stone and turns it into cash money, then I'm sure you probably can reap the rewards of profit from that many stones. But without doing that, I'm not really sure if you're going to be able to sell stones at the stone crusher and ultimately become profitable. Now, as we make our way back to the vehicle shop, I'm just going to take a look here at how the lay of the land. Our fields do kind of undulate. We've got some undulating hills through our field. Specifically, field 15 has some pretty nice inclines and declines. Field 16 as well. So the inclines don't look to be too terribly steep, so you shouldn't have too many issues with respect to trying to pull implements through these fields, but you may not want to kind of undersize your machinery as a result. So back here at Clever Motors, let's go ahead and pick up our Mahindra. Then we have our customized sell, repair, trade, repaint trigger right here, our dealer trigger. And we have a very large area for our machinery to spawn in at. Now we will have to kind of pay attention to how big the exit here is, because we do have a solid brick fence or fence wall around this area. We'll also have to pay a little bit of attention to how wide the road network is, but I do believe that overall we'll have plenty of area here to buy some pretty large machinery. Exit's not too terrible bad. The road width isn't too terrible bad. We do have traffic to deal with. As far as kind of the things that are along the edge of the road, I think you're going to be able to manage with some decently sized equipment coming through here. Let's take a right and then we'll kind of double back, I believe. Well, let's touch a little bit about on the farms being customizable. Since we do have that one building that we cannot get rid of, I am going to take off 1/4 of a point. So we do have just 3/4 of a point with respect to can the farms be customizable. They are fully customizable except for that one building that we are going to be stuck with. So we have our interactive trigger at the front. our pallet spawn point and our dump point for our milk here around the back. We have our grain mill, pallet spawn point, interactive trigger, and dump point around the front. With respect to buildings where appropriate are using the new texture technique as well as the ground textures and such, we are going to give the map a full point here. Overall, the buildings that are included on the map are FS22 standard buildings. So we are going to give the map a full point there. So we have our wood cell trigger, our dump point here at the carpentry shop. Then we have our interactive trigger, and our pallet spawn point is going to be, of course, around the back. We would be able to take this road and ultimately head down to sawmill, which I think maybe we'll just go ahead and we'll double back. We'll double back here in a moment. Let's head over to the BGA. So here we have the sugarcane mill. This is going to be a sell point, so we have our dump grate. And then we have the BGA. And once we buy the biogas plant, we will then be able to make use of this particular land. So we have our dump point for our slurry. We have the Elm Creek double bunkered BGA, or the double digester BGA, so we have dump points for both of these digesters. An interactive icon to purchase and then interact with the factory. We have a single three-sided silage bunker here around the side. And then we have our digestate fill point. Now let's make our way down to the sawmill and animal dealer. This will once again allow us to kind of get a little general frame of reference as to the lay of the land here. I'm very curious what you all think of these South American maps in general. We got a flurry of these types of maps kind of toward the end of FS19. We are coming up to the sawmill. First, we'll visit the animal dealer. How about that? So here we have our animal dealer buy trigger. We don't have any animal items placed on the map, so we won't really be able to demonstrate that trigger necessarily functioning until we put down an animal area. And then around the back, we have our animal dealer sell point trigger. Now, this area here that is marked with the glowing dump icon, this has a trigger. The markers located here, they don't visually have a trigger when I hit F5. So I really am not sure if these markers really mean anything or if there's somehow kind of residual with respect to when this building was extracted out of the base map. Given the fact that we are not really sure what's going on with that particular trigger, that is ultimately going to affect a little bit of the score once again with respect to player and interactive areas being clearly marked, because there are some markers there that really aren't super clear as to if there's anything going to be going on there or not. And here we have our sawmill entrance. So we have our pallet spawn point for our planks. We have our wood cell trigger located right here, and our dump point for our wood. We have our interactive icon, and then we have our wood chip trigger located right there. Let's make our way back up to the town. So we have our vehicle shop located over in that general direction because there is a church. And we're going to pop up right here, right at our oil mill. So we have our pallet spawn point, we have our dump grate around the side, and then our interactive trigger around the back. Really not sure why that is positioned around the back. Kind of seems oddly placed, but that's where it is. Even in the standard implementation of that factory. Here we have one of our grain sell points. Located right here. Now, as far as the grain sell points and getting in here with something large, doesn't look like it's too terrible small, too terrible difficult to get in here with maybe a large trailer or maybe a road train of trailers. We have our grocery sell point located here around back at the loading zones. Now we do have our floating icon, but we don't have the trigger markers. Would like to see trigger markers here where we also have our floaty icons. We have them at the production sites. Would like to see some consistency with respect to also at the sell points. We have our bakery, interactive trigger, pallet, and dump point around the back and side. Again, lack of the yellow and black hash marks. I'd like to see those. We have a restaurant sell point. And then right across the street we have Mama Joe's Diner and the Tailor. So we have our Tailor, we have our interactive icon, our wardrobe trigger, dump point, pallet spawn point around the corner. Mama Joe's Diner, really well done. I like the use of the curbing, sidewalk, the seating areas, and such. Some poor kid left his game cartridge when he was checking out the ice cream novelties. Tisk tisk. That's your one and only hint where you're going to find those 20 collectibles. We have our fuel point. Here on the map, we have then another restaurant sell point. We made our way up to our another little kind of production row where we have 3 production items or production places. So we have our cereal factory. Pallet point, interactive trigger, our dump station, all around the back. We have our spinnery with our interactive trigger on the front. Cotton and wool dump point. Fabric spawn point there. Then we have our grape processing center. Interactive trigger, pallet spawn point, and our dump point also around the back. Now let's go ahead and make our way up to the limestone mine. So with respect to player interactive areas clearly marked, we've already talked a little bit about taking off some points there. So we are going to give the map 3/4 of a point there as well. So those of you keeping score at home, that is going to give the map a total score of 4.5 out of 5. A very respectable score. Could have been a lot closer. Quite frankly, could have been 5 out of 5 if we won. Had the ability to sell that one shed, that one building at the main farm. And 2, if we were free and clear of those mystery markers at the animal dealer. And we had the black and yellow markers at all of the other dump points kind of scattered around. Coming in here to the lime mine, there are 2 viable plots of land. Let's go here to the lands area and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if we go in here in the lands, we have 46, which includes the area around the mine and the bulk of the mine itself. And then we have area 47, which is basically where we have the stone or the rock slide area where we have the stone piled up. So you can own the lime mine and not own the stone pile, or you could own the stone pile and not own the lime mine. It's just kind of going down in a circle here, and then we eventually open up to everything. Let's go ahead and start at the stone pile, which we saw during the fly around portion. That is conveniently located right next to the stone crusher. We have in a lime buy point. And then if we actually own the lime mine itself, we have quite the pile of lime located right here. But again, until we buy the area, we're not going to be able to scoop any of this up. So guys, that is going to do us for Umari Farm RN. Another South American Brazilian map coming to Farming Simulator 22. Let me know what your all's thoughts are down in the comments below. And until next time, happy farming.